Would you believe me if I told you that becoming a millionaire is far easier than it appears if only you first train your mind to think like one? What if I say that most people fail not because they lack opportunity, but because they have not yet developed the inner blueprint required to receive and retain wealth? This is the tragedy of the modern man. He chases riches, hustles for recognition, and searches the world for the shortcut to success, all while neglecting the single most powerful tool he possesses, his mind. You see, the road to becoming a millionaire does not begin with money. It begins with mentality, with the decision to take full responsibility for how you think, how you act, and what you allow into the sacred space of your consciousness. A man may stumble into money. He may win a fortune, inherit a windfall, even strike gold in a lucky venture. But if his mind is not conditioned to handle it, to multiply it, to respect and manage it, that wealth will evaporate like water in the sun. Fortune favors not only the bold, it favors the ready. The man who has built the internal structure, the discipline, and the belief system to sustain greatness before it arrives. This is where your journey must begin. Not with more effort, not with more hustle, but with higher thinking, with the silent, steady development of a mind that already carries the identity of a millionaire, even if the numbers have yet to catch up. Because when the mind believes, the body obeys. When the mind aligns, the behavior follows. And when thought becomes congruent with vision, the result becomes inevitable. The first law of the millionaire mindset is this: you do not wait to have money to think richly. You think richly to become the man who naturally attracts money. This is not wishful thinking. It is a psychological and spiritual truth. You are always becoming what you consistently think about. Your dominant thoughts are a prophecy in motion. They shape your perception, your confidence, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. So what are you thinking about? Are your thoughts centered on possibility or limitation? Do you dwell on what's missing or on what's possible? Are your daily mental repetitions reinforcing discipline or distraction? The man who becomes wealthy does not entertain poverty in his thoughts. He may have grown up in lack. He may have known hunger. But he refuses to allow scarcity to take root in his belief system. This is the second law. Your environment may have shaped you, but it is your decision whether it defines you. The man who becomes wealthy in thought first must break free from the mental chains of his past. He must look at the story he's inherited, the fears, the excuses, the patterns, and decide. That ends with me. He must take control of the narrative that plays on repeat in his mind and rewrite it with boldness and clarity. The third law of the millionaire mind is discipline. Not occasional bursts of motivation, not spasms of inspiration. Daily discipline. The kind of discipline that is invisible to the outside world but undeniable in its results. A millionaire mind wakes up early, not to prove a point, but to own the day before it owns him. He reads not for entertainment, but for elevation. He plans not because he likes structure, but because he understands that freedom is born from order. You do not fall into wealth. You design your way into it. The world will offer you distractions. It will try to seduce you with noise, trends, and temptations. But the millionaire mind filters all of it through one question. Does this move me closer to who I'm becoming? And if the answer is no, he cuts it off without apology. Because when you're building something of value, you cannot afford to entertain what does not align. This is the discipline of subtraction, of removing what no longer serves the vision. Toxic people, aimless habits, time-wasting conversations. The millionaire mind is not a collector of information. It is a curator of value. It focuses on what matters and eliminates what doesn't, because clarity is not something you find, it's something you create. You create it by saying no. No to overexposure. No to comparison. No to the need for validation. no to shallow ambition, and yes to deep becoming. This is not about impressing others. This is about impressing upon yourself that you are no longer available for mediocrity, that you refuse to participate in your own delay, that you are no longer waiting for conditions to be perfect, because you are committed to becoming perfect in your preparation. That preparation begins with thought, but it continues with execution. The millionaire mindset is not passive. It is not just belief. It is belief in motion. It moves. It decides. It takes action. And it learns through failure. The man who becomes wealthy in mind does not fear failure. He expects it. He welcomes it, because he understands that every stumble sharpens his strategy. Every setback reveals a flaw in his thinking, and every failure brings him one step closer to mastery. This is the fourth law, resilience. The ability to remain faithful to your vision, even when reality doesn't yet reflect it. The power to stand firm when the scoreboard shows 0. The courage to keep building when no one believes, no one claps, and nothing seems to be working. That is the grit required to carry a millionaire mind. Because before the results show up externally, they must be earned internally. How do you earn them? By managing your internal state, by refusing to let your emotions drive your decisions. The man who develops a millionaire mindset does not operate based on feeling. He operates based on standards. He shows up when it's hard. He stays calm when it's chaotic. He finishes when it's tempting to quit. He treats every single hour as an investment, not because he's obsessed with money, but because he understands the value of momentum. This is the fifth law, direction over distraction. Most people live in response. They respond to notifications, to emotions, to other people's urgency. But the man with the millionaire mind creates direction. He doesn't respond, he leads. His day doesn't happen to him. He commands it. And because he has trained his focus, he accomplishes more in a single hour than most do in an entire day. And it's not just about productivity, it's about power, inner power. The power of a man who has mastered his impulses. Who doesn't flinch under pressure? Who doesn't look around for permission, but within for purpose? That power cannot be faked. It cannot be borrowed. It must be built. And so he builds brick by brick, thought by thought, habit by habit. While others complain, he constructs. While others react, he refines. While others scroll, he studies. While others drift, he directs. Until one day, the outer begins to reflect the inner. The results catch up with the belief. The bank account aligns with the identity. And the man who once seemed unreasonable is now undeniable. This is the reward of the millionaire mindset. Not just financial gain, but personal mastery. Because when you train your mind to operate at a higher frequency, everything in your life must elevate to meet it. Your relationships shift. Your language sharpens. Your choices align. Your confidence grows, not because you've reached the top, but because you've learned to think like a man who belongs there. You'll notice that you no longer explain yourself. You don't need to. Your focus speaks louder than your words. Your actions testify to your discipline. Your life becomes a sermon preached not with noise, but with consistency. And those around you begin to feel the difference. They ask, what changed? They ask for your secret. But there is no secret, only a choice. To think differently, to believe deeper, to act daily. To become the man who doesn't need to chase wealth, because wealth now chases him. Not because he's lucky, because he's ready. Because he trained his mind before he tried to earn the money. Because he paid the price in thought before he ever received the reward in form. And now, the form must follow the foundation. It's law. The foundation is invisible to the world, but it is everything. You cannot see a man's thoughts, but they build the architecture of his future. You cannot measure his daily inner conversations, but they determine the strength of every action he will take. And so, the man who intends to be a millionaire must first become a master of what he thinks when no one is watching. He must train his inner dialogue like an athlete trains his body, consistently, ruthlessly, and without excuses. He does not think thoughts of scarcity, because he knows those thoughts repel wealth. He does not allow room for self-pity, because he knows that self-pity is a silent poison. He does not say things like someday, because his life is governed by commitment, not someday dreams. He uses his words with intention, not only outwardly, but within, because he understands that words are seeds and his mind is the soil. Speak doubt, and doubt will grow. Speak strength, and strength will form roots. The man who develops the millionaire mindset repeats certain truths to himself until they become permanent. I do not wait. I initiate. I do not complain. I convert. I do not fear. I face. These are not affirmations spoken once, they are declarations carved into identity through daily repetition and daily action. His mindset is not a costume, it is armor, forged by intention, strengthened by difficulty, and tested in silence. Understand this clearly. The mind does not grow by comfort, it grows by fire. The man who becomes wealthy must willingly walk through the fire of inconvenience. He must put himself in environments that stretch him. He must pursue conversations that challenge him. He must deliberately destroy every lie he's inherited about what is possible. Because you cannot become wealthy thinking like the man who has settled. So he builds new beliefs, and more importantly, he builds behavior to match. Because belief without behavior is a fantasy. He writes, he plans, he creates systems, not just to get things done, but to track and govern his progress like a business. The man building wealth does not leave things to chance. He builds accountability into his calendar. He is not driven by mood, because mood is inconsistent. He is driven by metrics, by movement, by execution. He doesn't wait to feel like it. He doesn't wait for external motivation. He is self-generated, because he understands one truth. If you cannot control yourself, you will never control outcomes. And control is the root of wealth. Not control over people, but over priorities, over choices, over responses. He no longer seeks permission from the world. He has decided that his life is his alone to shape, and in that decision he has taken the steering wheel. Now he doesn't ask, what will the market allow? He asks, what must I become to dominate? He doesn't wonder if he's capable. He acts until the evidence proves he is. He doesn't sit on the sidelines of his own life hoping for opportunity to knock. He builds the house where opportunity comes to live. This mentality separates him from the masses. He becomes increasingly rare, not because he is better, but because he is more intentional. He is not carried by the tide of circumstance. He creates tides. He is not reactive. He is predictive. He studies patterns in himself and others, and he adapts before necessity forces him to. And as his mindset compounds, so does his clarity. He no longer needs to chase shiny ideas because he's learned the value of depth. He sticks with what works. He goes further with fewer things. He simplifies, knowing that complexity kills execution. And through that simplification, he finds power, not in doing more, but in doing what matters most longer than anyone else is willing to. This is how wealth is built, not by hype, not by luck, but by daily refinement, by building a mind so steady, so focused, so aligned, that success becomes a natural byproduct. It begins to flow not because of one big moment, but because of the hundreds of invisible decisions that stack beneath the surface for months, maybe years, without applause. The man who becomes a millionaire in his mind does not fear those silent seasons, He treasures them. He understands that the harvest does not come before the soil has been cultivated, the seed planted, the roots formed. He knows that delay is not denial, it is a test. A test to see if he really believes what he says he does. If he will stay the course when the rewards have not yet arrived. And so he stays. He sharpens. He builds. And while others look for an exit, he looks for improvement. That is the sixth law of the millionaire mind. Endurance, the ability to withstand not only external resistance, but internal doubt. To keep moving even when progress feels invisible. To persist not because it's easy, but because quitting is no longer an option. This man eventually becomes dangerous. Not to others, but to limitations. Because he has outgrown excuses. He has lost his appetite for distractions. He doesn't fit into old circles, not because he looks down on them, but because he's looking ahead. He's not playing for the weekend anymore, he's playing for legacy. That shift is profound. It changes how he walks, how he thinks, how he moves through the world. He no longer needs external accountability because he is internally driven. He doesn't wait for someone to hold him to his word. He holds himself. He doesn't lower his standards to be relatable. He raises them to be exceptional. And the world begins to notice not because he's loud, but because he's consistent. The man with the millionaire mindset understands that excellence doesn't need to announce itself. It speaks through presence, through precision, through posture. He enters a room, and people can feel the weight of his discipline. That is the product of living at a higher frequency for long enough that the body, the mind, and the world have adjusted to his new level. It becomes normal. The behavior that once felt extreme now feels expected. Waking up early, eating clean, thinking critically, investing wisely, removing toxic people, building systems, protecting time, saying no again, saying no a third time, because what he is building requires space. He knows that his future cannot coexist with everything from his past, and he is willing to make the hard cuts, because this is not about being liked, it's about being aligned. Aligned with the vision, aligned with values, aligned with wealth. That's why he does the work even when the money is not visible, because he's not performing for others. He's becoming the kind of man who attracts what others chase. And the difference between chasing and attracting is identity. Chasers act like the man. Attractors are the man. And that shift from doing to being is what changes everything. And so, the man with the millionaire mindset no longer needs to chase. He becomes a lighthouse. Solid, grounded, constant. And the ship's opportunity, money, partnerships begin to find him, not by accident, but by design, because his life is no longer random. It is the result of principle, precision, and unrelenting personal growth. He wakes up one day and he is living the life that others dream of, not because of a hack, not because of a viral moment, but because he made a decision long ago to develop the mindset before the money, to live at the level of wealth before the evidence arrived. And the world had no choice but to follow. By the time the money comes, the man who built his mind first is no longer surprised. He's not overwhelmed. He's not rushed to spend, not tempted to flaunt, not anxious to prove, because by the time the external wealth arrives, he's already owned it internally for a long time. He does not react to the number in his account. He maintains the same standard that created it. That is how you know a man is truly wealthy. His identity was forged in silence, not just after the income came in, but before it ever had a reason to. You see, to think like a millionaire before becoming one is the greatest act of self-respect you can practice. It means you do not need proof before you believe. It means you do not need validation before you take responsibility. It means you do not wait to be seen before you start showing up as the man you know you are. You no longer need to convince the world of your greatness. You only need to align your thoughts, your habits, and your decisions to reflect it. And that reflection becomes obvious. It shows in your priorities, in how you speak, in what you refuse, in what you no longer tolerate. It shows in your relationships because you no longer associate with chaos. You no longer bond over struggle. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You've chosen a life of focus, and that means the people who remain in your world must either elevate or exit. This level of thinking attracts wealth not because it's magic, but because it is rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. You are no longer one of many. You become one of one. A man who operates on a standard so uncommon that opportunities naturally rise to meet you, not because you chased them, but because you made yourself ready to receive. The preparation was in your silence. In the hours you spent developing thought patterns that aligned with power. In the days you repeated disciplines when no one was looking. In the mornings you woke up early, not because you were told to, but because you understood that the world belongs to the men who command the morning. In the sacrifices you made without announcement, in the books you read without anyone clapping, in the character you built while the world was sleeping, that's where the wealth began. Not in your first big win, but in your first decision to walk like the man who wins. Because by then you had already decided who you were, and the world simply adjusted to your certainty. So now, when the money comes, it comes into order, not chaos. It multiplies because your mind is trained to invest. It flows because your habits are systems, not emotion. It lasts because your identity does not require flash. And it grows because your vision is not a destination, it is a direction. You are not aiming for a finish line. You are building a foundation so strong that wealth is no longer the goal. It becomes a consequence of the man you've become. That is the final law of the millionaire mind. To realize that true wealth is not the money, it's the person. Money can be lost. It can be stolen. It can be inflated away. But the man who has built the thinking that created it once can create it again. Because the systems, the clarity, the character, and the mental wiring required to produce millions are not housed in a spreadsheet. They are built into the man. That is why you focus on becoming him. You invest in your mind like it's your greatest asset, because it is. You guard your attention like it's your greatest currency, because it is. You design your environment like it's your future headquarters, because it is. And you execute every single day like the entire vision depends on who you are willing to become, because it does. At this level, you don't waste time. You don't entertain small talk that breaks your rhythm. You don't argue with people who don't live by principle. You don't explain your standards. They are evident in your posture. You are no longer available for inconsistency. You are no longer available for cheap influence. You are no longer available for mental laziness. Your mind is now wired to see opportunity in every hour, not because you're obsessed, but because you are aligned. You no longer need hype to start your day. You've built so much structure that momentum is automatic. You've trained your inner world to support your outer results. You've set up rules that remove emotion from your behavior. And because of that, you now act like the man you respect, even on the days when the world gives you no reward for it. That is wealth. That is the energy that money cannot resist. Not desperation, not performance. Certainty, unbreakable, unshakable, earned through disciplined certainty. You no longer walk into rooms and hope to be seen. You walk in already carrying your conviction. And conviction is louder than any performance. It is louder than noise, louder than flexing, louder than marketing. Conviction is what makes people trust you. Conviction is what attracts the deal. Conviction is what seals the partnership. And conviction is not built overnight. It is built every morning you show up. Every evening you audit. Every moment you say no to what the old you would have accepted. Every time you close the loop instead of letting your mind wander, every single decision you make that aligns with the identity of the man who owns his future, you've realized by now, it was never about more money. It was about becoming the kind of man who attracts money, and now you see it everywhere. Not because it's new, but because you are. Your eyes are sharper, your thoughts are cleaner, your actions are more precise. You no longer waste effort. You no longer need to be reminded. You no longer seek stimulation. You are self-fueled, self-powered, self-accountable. You are no longer reacting, you are engineering. And that is when the world begins to move in your favor. The world bows to the man who refuses to bow to distraction. You've trained your thinking to reject what weakens you. You've practiced saying no so often that your boundaries are automatic. You've made silence your weapon, discipline your language, and focus your home. And from that position, there is no limit. You scale not because of pressure, but because of principle. You build not because of fear, but because of purpose. You grow not because of urgency, but because of vision. And you win, not because you outworked everyone else, but because you outfocused them. You now understand. It's not how hard you grind, it's how deep you think. It's not how much time you spend, it's how intentionally you design it. It's not how loud you are, it's how aligned you are. And alignment is the true asset, the most valuable one. More than capital, more than strategy, because alignment attracts everything else. Alignment brings clarity. Clarity brings direction. Direction brings momentum. And momentum brings compounding wealth. This is the formula. And you have already stepped into it, not because of luck, but because of decision. So do not stop here. You are no longer a man with ambition. You are a man with a standard. You are no longer dreaming about the life. You are living like the man who already has it. And in time, everything else will catch up, just as it always has. Because the mind leads, always. The world follows, always. So remain steady, remain sharp, remain loyal to the code you've built. Speak less, execute more, think bigger. And remember, you were a millionaire long before the world could see it, because you decided every single day to think, act, and live like one before the evidence ever showed up. That is power. That is alignment. That is how the mind becomes your fortune. And once you own the mind, everything else must follow. What is the one idea that could set you free from every limitation, break every invisible chain, and open the gates to your true abundance? It is this. You already have the power to grow rich because God lives in you. You are not empty. You are not lacking. You are not unworthy. You are a walking, breathing miracle of creation, given full access to infinite intelligence, yet most men never use even a fraction of this gift. Why? Because they have been conditioned to seek riches outside themselves instead of realizing that the source of all wealth lies within. Now, I want you to pause and reflect. You've been told to hustle, to grind, to sacrifice, and to struggle. But you were rarely told to go within. You were told to pray to a God above, but not to awaken the God within. And that is the cause of much failure. For what you fail to activate, you cannot attract. What you fail to recognize, you cannot release. The principle of Think and Grow Rich is not just about money, it is a spiritual law. It is the realization that what you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. And what you believe, you manifest. But if you think with fear, if you feel unworthy, and if you believe that God is distant, then your reality will reflect that spiritual confusion. That's why the first step to growing rich is not a financial move, it is a mental revolution. And that revolution begins when you accept that you are not separate from God. You are not a beggar waiting for blessings. You are a creator sent to manifest His vision on earth. The moment you see yourself as a divine partner, not a desperate servant, everything begins to change. You stop chasing riches and begin aligning with riches. You stop trying to prove your worth and begin expressing your value. You stop doubting your future and start creating it with precision. Do not mistake this for arrogance. This is divine responsibility. You were not put on this earth to simply survive and obey. You were sent here to build, to create, to inspire, and to thrive. And your success is not only possible, it is required, for it glorifies the infinite intelligence that gave you life. Now let's bring it down to the practical. If the God within you holds the key to all wealth, how do you unlock it? First, by belief. Not passive belief, not religious recitation, but active, aggressive, intentional belief. Belief that the desires in your heart are valid, sacred, and implanted by God Himself. If a dream was given to you, it is your duty to pursue it. It's not fantasy, it's instruction. But belief alone is not enough. You must also discipline your mind. You must filter your thoughts with care, because your thoughts are seeds. Each one takes root and produces fruit, either good or bad. The man who does not guard his thoughts will live in confusion. But the man who chooses thoughts of faith, power, wealth, and possibility, that man begins to manifest heaven on earth. Your inner world is the womb of your future. You cannot plant poverty in your thoughts and expect prosperity in your bank account. You cannot water fear every day and expect to grow in faith. You cannot complain about lack and attract abundance. This is why you must become the master of your mind. You must think rich long before you touch riches. You must speak wealth before you see wealth. You must walk with confidence before results show up. And if you're waiting to feel ready, let me remind you, readiness is a decision. Most men wait for a sign from the world, but the world is waiting for a sign from you. That sign is your decision to rise, to build, to no longer tolerate mediocrity in any form. And that decision must be followed by clarity. Clarity is the engine of creation. A vague goal produces vague results. A weak desire produces weak action. So I ask you, what exactly do you want? What number? What lifestyle? What impact? What legacy? Don't just feel it, define it, write it, declare it, own it. Because a man without a vision will perish, not from lack of effort, but from lack of focus. Once you are clear, begin to visualize, not as a childish fantasy, but as a spiritual discipline. See the life you were born to live. Picture it so vividly that your subconscious mind begins to accept it as reality. For when your subconscious accepts a truth, it sets forces in motion to bring it into form. You begin to act differently, speak differently, walk differently, and soon the world responds. This is how we think and grow rich with God, not apart from Him. Every step of your success journey is infused with divine intelligence. You are not doing this alone. You are being guided, protected, and elevated by a power that cannot fail. But you must stay connected. You must tune your mind like a radio to the frequency of success. If your thoughts are full of guilt, fear, or scarcity, you are tuned to the wrong signal. But if your thoughts are full of faith, purpose, and gratitude, you begin to resonate with the abundance that is your birthright. And yes, I said birthright. Wealth is not reserved for the few. It is reserved for the faithful. It is the natural outcome of a man who obeys the laws of the universe: thought, belief, decision, persistence, and generosity. When these are in place, wealth flows. Not always instantly, but inevitably. And what about obstacles? Will they disappear? No, but your relationship with them will change. The man who walks with God sees obstacles as feedback, not failure. He understands that resistance is a teacher. That delay is development. That rejection is redirection. He does not panic. He pivots. He does not quit. He recalibrates. Why? Because he knows his outcome is already secured. He is not guessing. He is trusting. Let me tell you the truth. The richest men are not those who earn the most. They are those who think the clearest. They are those who no longer tolerate fear in their vocabulary. They are those who start their days not with worry, but with alignment, prayer, affirmation, decision. And this alignment is not religious, it is strategic. You cannot produce divine results with a chaotic mind. You cannot create like God and think like a slave. You must elevate your standard. The way you wake up, the way you speak, the way you walk into a room, all of it must be a declaration of the man you've decided to be. And what man is that? He is focused. He is intentional. He is faithful. He is generous. He is disciplined. He is connected. He is bold. He is powerful. He is a man who thinks and grows rich with the God in him, not just for his own sake, but to bless everyone assigned to his influence. Do you understand that your success is not just about you? It's about everyone who will be inspired, employed, elevated, and awakened because you said yes to your calling. There are lives attached to your discipline. There are breakthroughs connected to your obedience. There is legacy linked to your willingness to believe in what God has placed inside of you. So no, this is not about ego. This is about responsibility. This is about stewardship. And the first thing you must steward is your own mind. That is the birthplace of every miracle. You are no longer allowed to think small. You are no longer permitted to hide your gift. You are no longer available for the lies of limitation. From this moment forward, you are a vessel of wealth, wisdom, and world-changing impact. And that vessel is guided by divine intelligence every step of the way. Your thoughts are no longer random, they are reconstructed. Your actions are no longer reactive, they are intentional. Your emotions are no longer unstable, they are anchored in faith. This is the new version of you, the real version, the original blueprint that God had in mind before fear and failure entered the picture. And this version is unstoppable. So start today. Start now. Get clear. Think boldly. Write your vision. Declare your identity. Affirm your success. Visualize your outcome. Take daily action. Give without fear. Receive without guilt. Move with grace. Speak with fire. Now that you have declared who you are and stepped into alignment with the infinite, you must now continue forward, not with hesitation, but with full momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that rewards consistent action. And when that action is guided by divine clarity, it becomes nearly unstoppable. I have long taught the definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement, and that principle remains true today. The man who moves with clarity, backed by the God within him, becomes a force the world cannot ignore. Let me ask you, what is your definite major purpose? Can you define it in one sentence? Can you feel it in your bones? Can you speak it aloud with conviction? Because if you cannot, you are not building, you are wandering. A man without purpose is a man drifting on the tides of other people's agendas. But the man with a definite purpose, inspired by divine desire, becomes a creator in a world full of consumers. And your purpose, your true God-given purpose, will never be something small, selfish, or shallow. It will be deep, rooted in service, expansion, and impact. It will demand growth. It will demand courage. But it will also unlock favor, insight, and energy you didn't know you had. The moment you commit to your purpose, heaven responds. You may ask, how do I know it's the right purpose? And I will tell you, your true purpose is that which won't let you go. It calls you in quiet hours. It awakens you in the middle of the night. It stirs your soul when you see others suffering. It's not chosen, it's revealed. And once revealed, it must be honored with strategy and structure. Write it down. Build a plan. Break it into actions. Refuse to let another day pass where you live on accident. The God in you is organized. He is precise. He is a builder, and you, made in His image, must also build. The difference between wishing and winning is strategy. And understand, strategy is not complicated. It is simply a series of intelligent, consistent actions taken toward a divine objective. You don't need to do everything at once. You need to know what to do now, and then do it well. You must focus your energy like a laser, not a flashlight. Because scattered effort leads to scattered results, but focused faith produces exponential return. Now, I must speak to you about another sacred principle: decision. The man who is indecisive is double-minded, and the Scripture teaches that such a man is unstable in all his ways. Wealth does not come to the confused. Success does not belong to the hesitant. Power does not dwell in the heart of the unsure. You must become a man who decides quickly and changes slowly. Why? Because decision is the mechanism through which you demonstrate faith. Every time you make a clear decision, you say to the universe, I know who I am. I know what I want, and I trust that what I need will be revealed to me as I go. That kind of man is rare, and that kind of man is rich. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for full understanding. Don't wait for everyone to agree. Make the decision that honors your highest self, and then act like it's already done. When you commit fully, the details will follow. And once you've decided, you must protect that decision with persistence. Persistence is not stubbornness. Persistence is spiritual loyalty to your vision. It is the quiet refusal to surrender your divine right to a mediocre life. The world will test you. It will push back. But the man who persists, backed by purpose, reinforced by prayer, and driven by faith, cannot be defeated. Because he does not rely on external motivation, he draws power from within, and that's where the God in you becomes your advantage. While others grow weary, you tap into endless supply. While others quit at the first sign of difficulty, you remember that pressure is a sign of promotion. That opposition is proof that you are advancing. That delays are not denials, they are divine refinements. You must learn to love the process, to bless the friction, to see every setback as sacred, because all things are working for your good, all things, even the pain, even the silence, even the seasons when it seems like nothing is working. That's when the real work is happening. That's when you are being prepared for a level of success you prayed for but did not yet have the strength to hold. And that preparation takes time. But time is not your enemy. Time is your ally when you walk with God. He is not rushed. He is not confused. He is building you into a man who can build empires, not just chase paychecks. He is forging character, not just creating comfort. And if you trust that process, your reward will be far greater than you imagined. Now, I must speak to your relationship with money, because most men have inherited beliefs that block their blessing. Money is not evil. Money is not dirty. Money is not ungodly. Money is a tool, a servant, a multiplier. In the hands of a wise man, money feeds families, funds visions, heals communities, and creates legacies. So why are you afraid to claim it? Why do you hesitate to ask for it, earn it, receive it, and manage it with confidence? Because somewhere along the way you were taught that money and morality are at odds, that to want more is to be greedy, that to be rich is to be corrupt. But I say this to you now, the greatest lie ever told to keep men poor is that wealth is unrighteous. The truth is this: when a righteous man becomes rich, the world gets better, because his wealth flows through clean hands. It funds solutions. It honors excellence. It inspires others to believe that they too can rise. So from now on, you must see money not as a goal, but as a result of value creation, a result of impact, a result of alignment with spiritual law. And the more value you create, the more money will find you, without strain, without shame, and without apology. And what is the most powerful way to create value? By solving problems. The man who solves problems is the man who earns wealth. That's why you must train your mind to see solutions, not just obstacles. Every challenge you face is a doorway to creativity. And creativity is divine currency. You are a problem solver. You are a leader. You are a thinker. You're not here to work for money. You are here to design systems, to build businesses, to invent, to write, to speak, to coach, to lead. Whatever your calling is, know this. The more you grow, the more you earn. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you trust the God in you, the more life will trust you with opportunity. And I will tell you one more thing. Your environment matters. The voices you listen to, the people you spend time with, the places you frequent, these things form your atmosphere, and atmosphere affects growth. You cannot grow rich in a toxic environment. You cannot grow rich listening to fear, gossip, laziness, and doubt. You must build an atmosphere of belief in your home, in your mind, in your conversations. Surround yourself with people who speak life. Read books that stretch your mind. Watch teachings that awaken your spirit. Protect your gates, what you hear, what you see, and what you entertain. Because your input becomes your inner world, and your inner world becomes your outer results. And if there's no one around you who believes at the level you do, then be the first. Start the movement. Be the light. Be the proof that one man connected to God can change everything. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not stuck. You are simply being called to a higher frequency. And the invitation is clear. Rise up. Think higher. Live richer. Give greater. Decide faster. Move boldly. Because when the man aligns his thought with divine truth, the entire universe moves to reward him. You don't have to wait for anyone's permission. You don't need the applause. You don't need the spotlight. You need only one thing. To believe that the God who made you is the same God living in you. And through that connection, all things are possible. Now write your vision again, but this time make it bigger. Set your goals again, but this time make them bolder. Speak your truth again, but this time make it louder. And act on your plan again, but this time with no hesitation. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs you fully activated, fully aligned, and fully alive. And that version of you, he is coming. He is ready. He is already here. Now we arrive at the place where few ever do, not because they lack potential, but because they lack endurance. You see, it is not intelligence or talent or even opportunity that separates the wealthy man from the average man. It is spiritual stamina. The decision to stay the course, even when it's hard, to walk in faith, even when the evidence is thin, to believe in the unseen while building in the physical. And this stamina doesn't come from your willpower alone. It comes from your alignment with God. A man who is deeply connected to the divine does not need constant motivation. He has revelation. He does not crumble at delay. He understands that all things work together, not just the good things, but the setbacks, the silence, the waiting. Because everything that feels like resistance is often refinement. And refinement makes room for real wealth. The kind of wealth that doesn't flee in a crisis. The kind of wealth that can't be stolen by inflation. The kind of wealth that outlasts your own lifetime. Because the richest men in the world are not remembered for how much they earned, but for how much they built. For how deeply they impacted, and for how much they served. So if you desire to grow truly rich, with the God in you guiding every move, then you must be more than a moneymaker. You must be a builder of people, a builder of vision, a builder of systems, principles, values, and legacies. This requires integrity. It requires maturity. It requires that you step out of small thinking and into stewardship. You must begin to see yourself not just as a man who earns, but as a man who multiplies, a man who manages, a man who transforms every room he enters because he carries within him the unmistakable presence of divine intelligence. And that presence, when fully activated, becomes your greatest asset. When you walk into a room, you are not alone. When you pitch your idea, you are not speaking alone. When you make a decision, you are not choosing alone. You are being guided, moment by moment, by a voice that is quiet but never wrong. And that voice is not found in noise, it is found in stillness. So you must guard your peace. Turn off the distractions. Close the tabs. Silence the world. And get alone with the one who gave you the vision in the first place. Because the more successful you become, the more tempting it will be to rely on your own strength. But man was never meant to live by strength alone. He was meant to live by spiritual power, and that power is renewed in solitude, not applause. So return to your source often, keep your ear tuned to his direction, and never forget, all the riches in the world cannot replace a single moment of divine instruction. You now understand what most men never will, that riches are not something you chase. They are something you become. You become rich internally first, through thoughts of confidence, peace, vision, and purpose. Then you express that richness through action, faith-filled, bold, strategic action. And here's the beauty of it. Once you become that man, no one can take it from you. You could lose the business, and you'd rebuild it. You could lose the deal, and you'd find a better one. Because the source of your wealth is not in the bank, it is in your mind, your spirit, your heart, your habits. That is what we mean by think and grow rich with the God in you. It is not about luck. It is about law. And the laws of the universe always respond to the man who is in right relationship with himself and his Creator. Now let's talk about the practical side of mastery. What must you do daily to remain in this frequency of abundance? You must begin your day with intention. Before the world has a chance to shape you, you must shape yourself. Through prayer, through meditation, through gratitude, through writing your goals, through visualizing your results, through declaring who you are. I am rich because I am one with the source of all wealth. I am calm because I trust in divine timing. I am bold because I was made in the image of greatness. These are not just affirmations, they are activations. They activate your highest self, your most confident self, your wealthiest self. Then you must follow those declarations with focused action. Create the content. Make the call. Send the offer. Build the system. Improve the product. Study your craft. Mentor someone else. And above all, do what you said you would do. Because nothing attracts wealth faster than integrity in motion. When God sees a man who is faithful over little, he trusts him with much. The man who honors his word even when no one is watching becomes a man of influence. The man who keeps showing up when it's not easy becomes a magnet for divine favor. That favor is not random. It is earned, not through effort alone, but through alignment. Now I will speak to your fears. What if I fail? What if I look foolish? What if I lose everything? And I will say to you, those are the voices of a lower version of yourself. That man is already dead. The man you are becoming does not ask, what if I fail? He asks, what if I fly? He asks, what if my obedience unlocks the future of generations? He asks, what if I am the one who changes everything? And then he moves not in fear, but in faith. This is how you win in silence. This is how you build in the shadows before the spotlight comes. This is how you become so grounded in who you are that success no longer surprises you. It simply confirms what you already believed. And when the riches arrive, and they will, you will not be shaken, because your joy did not come from the result. It came from the revelation that you are not alone, that you are not small, that you are not disqualified, you are chosen, you are connected, you are favored, and everything you need is already inside of you, waiting to be claimed through clarity, courage, and commitment. This is the millionaire mindset powered by the divine. This is the secret behind the world's most impactful leaders. This is the difference between men who work hard for money and men who attract wealth while changing lives. One is hustling. The other is aligned. One is grinding. The other is glowing. One is searching for answers. The other has become a channel through which the answers flow. So which one will you be? Will you keep thinking like a man separated from God? Or will you finally accept the truth that the same force that created galaxies lives in you, speaks through you, and works through you? When you accept that truth, you won't need to chase money. Money will chase you, because money is not moved by effort alone. It is moved by energy, the energy of purpose, the energy of boldness, the energy of generosity, the energy of divine obedience. And that energy is now yours if you choose to live at this higher level. So write the book, start the business, take the risk, build the brand, raise your standard, speak the vision, bless the world, and don't look back. You are not the man you used to be. You are not who they said you were. You are becoming exactly who God designed you to be. Powerful, clear, prosperous, and fully aligned with purpose. The world will soon know your name. Not because you shouted, but because you stood. Not because you begged, but because you believed. Not because you copied others, but because you trusted the voice within. That voice will never leave you. It will never fail you. It is the God in you. And when you think with Him, walk with Him, build with Him, you will grow rich in ways that no one can measure. Rich in finances, rich in favor, rich in fulfillment, rich in peace, rich in legacy. And all because you finally understood the secret was never outside of you. It was always within.